All right. Welcome back, folks. It's me, Mr. Nuclear Monster. You can also call me Jack. I'm back again today. Well, first I want to thank Mr. Peterselk for the music we're listening to right now, and I think I'll probably actually throw us into a different mix of this audio just so we have something to listen to in the background while I'm getting this going. But today I'm going to be giving some Steam Deck impressions. I know a lot of people have already put out videos about this. And certainly done streams about it, but it's important to me because for a lot of reasons. I'll get into that, but just kind of my perspective. I've been writing about. Just tell you where I'm coming from. I've been writing about Linux and gaming on Linux and desktop and all this stuff for about 20 something years ago. Since about 20 years ago, probably 22 years ago now, since I started doing it, and I've got some opinions. So let me kind of give those as I go over this with a little live demonstration in the background. Not everything I talk about I'll be able to demonstrate directly, but it was easy enough to get this going, so why not? In addition to my written impressions, which will be up on NuclearMonster.com, which is a website you should go check out. But yeah, thank you to Peter Silk for the music we were just listening to. You can find out more about him at kestrelpie.co.uk. But yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the Steam Deck. We've got Cheese in the chat. If Cheese wants to chime in, feel free. Cheese is an actual developer, so that's helpful for a different perspective and someone who really knows Linux well. So I appreciate that commentary. Yeah. So the Steam Deck is how I like contextualize this. I think a lot of people know what it is, but just in case you don't, it's this handheld computer that Valve announced last year. I was yeah, feel free to duck out too. I was pretty excited about in a lot of ways. But I also had some concerns about, and chief among them is the fact that like Valve as a company has been and seems to continue to do so in pushing a Windows compatibility layer, as people who are in favor of this like to call it, or I might call it Windows emulation, which is what lets you run games that aren't natively ported to a system, but have a Windows version under another system like Linux, which is what this is really running under the hood. Yeah, so I had a lot of concerns about that. I wrote about it. I interviewed some folks, some developers, to try and get their perspectives and see how it's impacting their business of porting games to Linux. And I think most of the concerns I have are were founded out by what I experienced. Most of the games I play work, but some, even if they've advertised and Valve has this, like here's a game, a random Space Crew. I guess I have this installed. I don't even remember installing it, but if I go down here to the game info on the deck, it says Steam Deck compatibility verified. It also says this on the store page. If you try to buy a game that's not verified, this is a program that Valve runs to check these games and see that they work. It'll say like it doesn't work or it works well. This game says it's got a big, I think, green check mark, which says works great, right? I haven't tried this game yet. It probably works fine, but some games you'll see this check mark. They don't work. It could be something small, like you need to select something different when you launch it. It could be something big where it's just not going to work. Some games I've had, and that it's not common, but it's something that happens where like 3 of the games I've played in the past couple of weeks, they just don't even launch right away. You have to do one thing or another to get them to launch. Some games have native Linux ports and they don't even work at all. And that's not at all the fault of the developers who made the games. For example, 2 games that I can talk about right now. If I open up the Steam menu here, and this is live output from this handheld computer, which is pretty wild to have a handheld computer. It's very impressive, I think, in a lot of ways. But let me see if I can find. So I still don't have Data the Tentacle. I thought I bought it the other day, but I didn't. But let me see if I can find a full throttle here. So I'm using the software keyboard to type in FULL. And it's on screen already. Perfect. So I'm going to hide the keyboard with the Steam and the X key shortcut. There's a bunch of buttons on here, like a Steam button and a traditional gamepad layout, the traditional Microsoft gamepad layout. Here's Full Throttle Remastered. This game has a native Linux port, and if you try to run it, here's what happens. And you may see some black bars on the screen on the side. That's not representative at all of what you'll see on the actual device. That's just what my system is capturing. So here's the game. I think at this point there should be audio in the game, and I can load up my save, which wasn't very far into the game. This is from a long time ago. I haven't actually tried to play this in a while. Yeah, thanks. I'm just running it straight from Steam. I'm not putting extra options in. There's no audio. Probably not going to go through right now and try to change any settings, but I just wanted to show that like this is an example of a native Linux port. It's entirely possible to debug, and please feel free to remind me. I'll come back and try to do that. But like no audio. This game, native port, for whatever reason, Valve has an issue on their GitHub page, but a user isn't going to know that. And what they're telling you to do, what users are discussing on the forum and in other places is, for example, going in here, and Valve doesn't advertise this game as being compatible, but we know it should be compatible. Like the gamepad controls working great. It has a native Linux port. But if you go in here and you go to, where did he do it? You go over to this gear icon on the right, and you go down to properties. Oh, here we go. We can do we can do some extra options. That's interesting that, yeah, it should. Is the chat not showing? Maybe it just takes a second to pop up on the screen. Maybe it just takes a second. It doesn't show up on the screen. I'm going to have to fix that. But Cheese in chat says the game hasn't recognized that something has gone wrong. Yeah, there it goes. Now it shows up on the screen. It's meant to pop up an error dialog when fmod, the underlying audio library or engine, fails to open a device. It should pop up an error dialog, which would be useful. Anywho, so here you can go into compatibility and force the use of a specific Steam Play compatibility tool. What this would essentially do is open up the Windows version, which, you know, is a very odd thing to do. You go in here, like I don't know that a regular user should have to know what any of this is, but that will essentially be running the Windows version under Windows emulation, and it feels like heresy, but I guess I'm gonna try to do that right now. As it gets finalized here. I apologize to Cheese in the chat. This is a port I think they worked on. Let's go ahead and let this go. If this will even finish downloading or whatever is going on. My beautiful. So yeah, like, I mean, there's a lot of things I can talk about positively with this, but like this, like a user from their perspective has no idea if they're running a native version or not. They don't even know, like a user, I don't even think they understand the difference between what a Proton is. There we go, we're launching the game. But this is what users are telling each other to do, right? When the game doesn't work, they say, go in, launch it with a Proton compatibility mode or whatever, and then you get, you know, working functional audio. And a user is, right, when it doesn't work, tick this box and then it works. And from a user perspective, you know, that's great for now, as long as the game happens to work in this mode. Or happens to work on their Steam Deck, which is what they want. And, you know, I don't blame the user for doing that. That's not their fault. They don't know what's going on in the back end. They shouldn't have to care. They're just trying to play the game, right? But if I'll go back here just so I can actually do some a dive into this and figure out what's going wrong later on. But I just wanted to show an example of what people are talking about when they're saying like something's working or not. Maybe, you know, and whatever's going on with the Linux port, there's definitely Linux ports out there that aren't maintained anymore for whatever reason. Or in this case, like it's a Linux port that should totally work, but the audio libraries are messed up. Valve knows about. They've got a GitHub issue where they're tracking the issue for that game specifically. and another game. I know there's another game from the same developer that has a similar issue. I think it's Day of the Tentacle, which yeah, I just haven't acquired yet, or bought yet. But yeah, that's something you might run into. But with the uh, from the user perspective, let's go back to a game that should work by default. Let's see if I can find. I'll go installed games. Here we go. I have a lot of games on Steam. Where is it? Here we go. Nuclear Blaze. This is a game I really enjoy. This is a game that I don't think is any kind of native Linux port. But this is a game where I had to go in. It says Steam Deck compatibility verified, but I couldn't launch this game at all, and it's not the fault of the developer at all. I couldn't launch this game at all until I went in here and changed some Steam compatibility settings or something. Actually, I apologize. That's not what was wrong with this game. This game had the issue of you hit play and then it asks you, do you want to play with DirectX recommended or OpenGL? And for the longest time, DirectX recommended did not work at all. You'd click on this and let's see if it works. Live demo, folks. Yeah, this is a fantastic example. This game is listed. This does not have a Linux version as far as I know. This is, as far as I can tell, Windows emulation. This game is listed as compatible. This is what a user sees. This is why I saw on my Steam Deck this error message. I'm really sorry about the game crashed. Error shader compilation error 14:1 blah blah blah. User's not going to read this. They're not going to understand what they're going to say. This thing should have worked. They're going to refund the game if they understand that they can refund it on Steam. I keep going for my mouse. That's not going to work. What I actually have to do, if I can remember how to do this. I think I actually used my mouse last time. Let me try to remember how to do this with just the Steam Deck without plugging in a mouse. And this thing has a USB-C port, so you can plug in a hub, which is how I've got the video being captured right now. There's a USB-C port plugged into a hub, so there may be some issues based on that output. But this is exactly my experience, even without the USB-C hub plugged in and all that. So if I hit the Steam button here, then I go over to controller settings. I'm going to change this from the official layout to mouse only. There we go. Oh yeah, that's right. So what I had to do on the Steam Deck itself, when I was using the Steam Deck directly, right now my Steam Deck screen is actually blank as I'm looking at the monitor, where I've mirrored the screen to, and then also the captured setup. But what I had to do was I had to touch the OK button with my hand. I actually cannot touch the this is hilarious. I cannot touch the OK button. This is worse than when I experienced just the deck on its own. I might have to unplug it and replug it back in again or something to get it out of the situation. Let me grab my mouse, my trackball here, and plug it into the hub on the Steam Deck and see if I can get this to work. There we go. No, I cannot bring my mouse down. This is great. This is listed as verified, folks. I love this game is fun. It's not I want to be very clear. This is not the developer of the game's fault at all. This is Valve and whatever they're doing. I don't know if it was working at some point when they tested it the first time, but this is kind of what I want to talk about with games saying that they're verified, and then the marketing materials, which is what we're looking at in the store, say that it's verified, and a user expects this to work, and then it doesn't work. And this is Windows emulation. This is a Windows compatibility layer. Not the developer's fault at all. I want to be very clear about that. Grab my keyboard cable here and plug it in to the Steam Deck so that I can press the enter key without having to mess around with Steam settings. Typically you can just tap on the OK box, but I can't even move a mouse down to it or the touch cursor on the trackpad. There's 2 trackpads on the Steam Deck. They generally work very well. I've played, okay, I was able to press the enter key with the actual keyboard here. But yeah, that's kind of messed up. And there's a way to get it to work. You go launch the game, and then you click play OpenGL, which is not recommended, presumably, because it doesn't have parentheses recommended at the top there when you're selecting it. And then the game pretty much works. It's a fun game. Oh, I need to change my settings again. Turn down my headphones. Trying to remember which. There we go, that's the knob to turn that down. Okay, let me change my controller settings back from where I changed them from to the official layout for Nuclear Blaze gamepad. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna hit continue from where I was. This is a fun game. I just want to play this a little bit to show you, like, once you get it working, you know, it's fun. There may be graphical issues because I'm using the not recommended OpenGL instead of DirectX, the Windows only graphics API. This is fine firefighting techniques. Did you know that fire spread? Sometimes speed is the key. It says the little this is fine dog. Anywho, this is a game where you're putting out fires. It's fun. It's an interesting, like, kind of Metroidvania-ish kind of game, but without shooting. I actually really recommend this game if you're interested in that, in side-scrolling games. And there's like a kid mode, which I haven't tried with my kid yet, but I've enjoyed playing it. But yeah, you saw kind of the issue I ran into, and that's kind of why I wanted to demonstrate. I'm not going to play this much longer. I just want to, you know, show what's going on with the Steam Deck and talk about it, and talk about why some of these issues are happening from my perspective as someone who's been writing about this for a long time. And yeah, you know, I think maintaining a Windows compatibility layer is going to be real difficult for Valve. I think, as we can see here, or it's proving to be difficult. Like, they're selling this device. It's a popular device. It's not, and I don't, you know, they've really done something incredible in putting a computer in the palm of our hands that's, you know, not locked out. You can install Windows on this thing. You can install other versions of Linux, I'm sure, if you wanted to. This is based on Arch Linux right now, is what the operating system is, Steam OS. I think Valve doesn't really offer yet a way to put the version of Linux that's on here onto other computers, but users have made it available, or a version of it available. I wouldn't necessarily trust installing that onto a computer I care too much about, or with my Steam password, but hey, you do you. Just putting out these fires. Fires are out. This is a good game. I could actually sit there and play this for a while. How do I get over here? There's the roll button. I'm trying to remember the controls because it's been a minute since I played this. I had this thing for like 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, no, it doesn't necessarily make Linux look good. I found the secret area. There's going to be a kitty cat in here. And I think that it's pretty clear that Valve's put their focus onto this Proton compatibility layer, and when the majority of their games are only available through this, like most of the flagship games are only available through the Proton compatibility layer, that makes sense for their business. But I think from the user perspective, I don't think it leads to something good. Like the area where you saw launching this game, which is otherwise a fun game that I think deserves to work well. Yeah, and it shouldn't really be on the user or the game developer to care about Valve's business plans, right? Cheese brings up a really good point. Yeah, so I'm gonna play out this game. I love this game. I think it's cool. I don't know if I love it, but it's a fun game. And there's this kid mode, like I said, Nuclear Blaze Hold My Beer mode, or Nuclear Blaze Hold My Beer in this update that they put out. Interesting game. Definitely a lot of games I play just work out of the box. They work fine. But there's games like this, and I know Downwell, I had trouble with the first time I launched. I had to reboot my Steam Deck the first time I tried to play it, because this did not work very well. Or it didn't, excuse me, when I launched it, I think I got an error message like we saw with Nuclear Blaze. Apologize, I should have written down the notes on that one, but it didn't run well. I just had to reboot my deck and then it worked, but I shouldn't have to reboot it, especially for our Windows compatibility layer to work right. I don't think Downwell has native Linux port. And I don't even think there's any way to tell if it's a native Linux port from the interface we're looking at here. Oh, nice. Yeah, Into the Breach. If you want to play Into the Breach, this thing will do it all day, or not for all day. This thing will do it for as long as the battery can. There's actually a bunch of battery performance overlay stuff here you can do, which is really neat. This is the advanced view. This is the basic view, where you can see, like, you know, a display of your frame rate and a bunch more stuff as you go up and down this performance overlay, or just turn it off. And I'm running down my battery here because I don't have power plugged in, but the charger this Steam Deck comes with actually works fantastically well. It's the best charger in my USB-C charger in my house. Charges like my iPads, or my iPad. It charges really fast. It's a great charger. You can change all kinds of things in here to get like better battery life out of it. You can use a per game profile to lower the frame rate of the game and lower the refresh rate of the display. The refresh rate of the display does only go up to 60 hertz, but that's fine for handheld. It's amazing that it does like a smooth 60 with a lot of games, which it absolutely does. It's going to be way better than a Switch for most of those games, as long as they run okay, because it has all these options, and because like it's just like a 6 or 7 year newer game. What was I going to launch next? I'm trying to remember. Let me just check over my notes here, but yeah, there's a lot to talk about with the deck. I think there's this is a kind of funny thing, but I guess let's actually launch Into the Breach. I want to show another game that works well out of the box, actually. And I'm actually going to talk about this software keyboard because it's atrocious. It looks really cool, but it's atrocious. All right, so here we go. Let's launch Into the Breach from the makers of FTL, it says. Yep, it runs great. You can get those little surveys like you just saw to ask you how your experience was playing it on the deck sometimes in a game. I'm very curious how those surveys relate to like the verification process, like if Valve goes back and checks games. I think one of my biggest complaints about the Windows API compatibility layers is that I think Windows API compatibility layers, like maybe like we saw with Nuclear Blaze, like maybe the game works fine one day, and then either a patch comes out, or the compatibility for the game, or the compatibility layer itself changes, and then it's no longer compatible with the game that you previously had compatible. Like this would be, I think, a regression mode, say. That's really disappointing, and I think that's one of the issues, though. It's just so difficult for games to stay compatible with these compatibility layers, and it's not really the game developer's responsibility or fault to stay compatible with them, which is just kind of wild. Let's try to go into a level here. I'm used to playing this looking at the deck itself. So it's a little weird playing it on the screen here, but it's nice that you know, once the dock comes out, or if you feel comfortable, you can plug in a USB-C hub and like use your own dock or something. There's a bunch of 3D printed ones out there I know to comfortably play on TV, and you can oftentimes use a Bluetooth gamepad or whatever with the deck. I'm also pretty rusty on Into the Breach, so you have to forgive me. Let's see. Let's do this one. I think I tried this earlier and bailed out because I did not do a good job. But I'll at least do a little bit. You can already see I've lost a bunch of pilots, which is not good. This is kind of a turn-based, like Final Fantasy Tactics, XCOM style thing, but with a really cool science fiction tropes and kaiju and stuff. Giant monsters. I love Into the Breach, though it's been a long time since I was deeply into it. They died while I was playing the game and not really remembering how to play it a couple weeks ago. But right now I'm gonna shoot this bug and drop some smoke on him so he can't fire. And I'm also going to move this guy. Oh, where do I, maybe over here? I'm gonna fire on this dude. He's gonna die, which is great. I move this one over here, and I really need to push. Oh, I can't move him over there. Darn it. I've already messed up this turn. Alright, let me move. Maybe if I just shoot this guy, he won't be able to do his thing. Nope, he's gonna attack the other building. Oh well, well, too bad for them. Might be losing the entire game on this one. Did I enable mode with different colors? Probably. Yeah, there's a colorblind mode. It looks like it's enabled. And I think I even have some stuff in the settings here. Yeah, I have a per game profile to limit the frame rate and some stuff. Because like you don't really need a huge frame rate to play this game. This is a turn-based game. You don't need. I don't necessarily need it. Let's get some more shots in on these bugs. So we keep killing these bugs, I guess. Is this a special bug? I don't think so. Hornet, Alpha Firefly. Alright, let's get our shots in. And a push. I wish I could push and move, but I can't do that, so I'm going to get hit. Then I'm going to take this guy down and jump and shoot and kill that one. And end the turn. Oh, actually, my guy isn't going to hit. That's good. So yeah, this game worked. Into the Breach works great. I don't even think I necessarily knew that this had native link support. Uh-oh. Mission incomplete. Time breach occurred. Game over. I only have one pilot to bring with me. That's fine. Anyway, this is Into the Breach. It's a fantastic game. I don't remember how I played it that well, but I enjoyed it when I did play it a lot. A couple years ago when it came out. It's at 2018, so actually that's 4 years ago. What is time? I'm curious if I go in here. Properties. Yeah, no compatibility layer listed. It doesn't tell you though. Oh, you can do a feedback thing. Again, nice. Glad you can still do that. Involves constantly releasing updates for the deck. They definitely are improving it a lot. Like I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing from a user experience. I just think that there are bad experiences to be had, even when it tells you that the experiences should be great. And I think some of those experiences some will get better, some will get worse. You know, as the deck's lifespan continues as a computer, portable computer that runs Steam and can run other things. Yeah, and like I said earlier, I've seen people on forums for games with native Linux ports, like telling other users who have trouble to switch them to a different compatibility layer or Proton when they run into that trouble. I think that's really a bad experience from a user's perspective. To get away from a native port to a Windows compatibility layer version that's not going to run as well and can't, and not as consistently. Um, and the support options, when you go to a game and you have trouble, right? Let's actually try that. So I had trouble with Nuclear Blaze. Let's go to back to installed. Actually wish this had a tab that was like recently played or recent. You can probably sort it by that. Last played, there we go. So let's go to Nuclear Blaze. And yeah, no, and she says in the chat, bigger picture users pushing users away from native ports means that developers are generally not going to get the info or incentive they need to address bugs. That's absolutely correct. There's a lot of things pushing users away from native ports here that are very disturbing from the perspective of someone who wants native Linux games to be good and like this thing to be good. And I think Valve wants this thing to be good. It's very strange, the situation we're in. So yeah, so if you go in here and you're having trouble with the game, which, I did, I hit play. This is a recommended game, or this game recommends that you run with the DirectX mode. And then if you go into here and hit game info, it says Steam Deck compatibility verified. It has a little warning there that the game does not default to external Bluetooth USB controllers on the deck and may require manually switching the active controller via the quick access menu. Yep. That, it doesn't say anything here about selecting the OpenGL mode instead of DirectX. I have no idea even what the DirectX renderer looks like. Yeah. Valve's angle on this, according to Cheese in the chat, is that users shouldn't report Proton problems to developers. They should talk with Valve so that Valve can address the compatibility layer. So, but if you go in here, I have trouble with it, this game. I don't see any option. Will there be an option when I go into here? Properties. Oh, here we go, feedback. Great. Yeah, I think I already said, maybe I was already surveyed and said, no, it does not match my experience. It shouldn't be verified because you go in here, you launch it with DirectX and it doesn't work. You get that big error dialog that doesn't work at all. And then if you go in here to support, hopefully this doesn't dox me. How have I gotten out of that page? How do I get back to that page? Anyway, if you go into the support options, it inevitably led me to the path of complaining to the developer. It didn't lead me to the path of talking to Valve at all, which I thought was pretty disturbing. Yeah, which is not good. Yeah, so that's kind of what I want to say about the support situation. It's kind of pointing users to go complain to developers. And when the Proton compatibility layer isn't working, in some scenarios, I guess in others, it's saying, it's surveying users, and it's good that it's surveying users because that feedback goes back to Valve. I took some screenshots of the error message I ran into when I first did it. Yeah, not good. Not good. And even like some games that Valve says work great. Like a couple weeks ago, I tried to, or maybe a week or and a half ago, I tried to run Elden Ring, which as you can see, I've got considerable amount of time in, and it didn't even run. Like it would just show a white screen or a black screen or something like this. It was completely non-functional. Hopefully it's been fixed. Who knows if it was a patch, what it is. This is actually doing better than it has in the past. Hopefully, I think it said Steam Cloud up to date, so hopefully I'm not going to screw up my save game, but that's another thing I'm concerned about all the time when I play this. I've seen people complaining that the Steam Cloud messes up their save data or whatever. I have no idea how accurate that is, but the anecdotal stuff I've seen is pretty disturbing. And I think we've all had those kinds of issues with cloud services, a server somewhere that's saving some kind of data of ours. Yeah. So here's this game. This game should be doing something right now. The screen of the deck is blank. The monitor I'm looking at is blank. I can bring up this menu. I can force the game to quit by hitting exit game. This game, like the store page, everything about it says, you know, verified. What? What the hell's going on? Is a blank screen? Is this what it's supposed to be doing? Um, this is a Steam menu I'm bringing up, not an in-game one at all. So if you hit there's two buttons that bring up functionality external to the game. One is a Steam button. The other is a button with three dots on the right. Steam button's on the left, three dot buttons on the right. As other people have said, like the physical buttons themselves aren't that great, but they can bring up these kinds of menus sometimes. Yeah, hold on a second. Grab some water here. Yeah, so I can bring up this. I'm lucky I can like exit out of the game, which is not functioning. I can bring up this menu on the right. I have no idea why this game isn't functioning properly. It could be that it carried over settings from my Windows desktop computer and it's trying to run with those like the resolution or something. I have no idea. This is not functional at all. It should be doing something. I'm gonna have to exit out of the game here. Yeah, unsaved game data may be lost. Well, that's a heck of a warning when the game's not functional at all. I've seen other people complaining about this game not working. Elden Ring, very popular game right now. It's been popular for months. It should, you know, I would think this would be a high priority to work. I don't know why it's not working. Did make it work eventually a week or two ago when I was trying to stream it, but it was a pain in the ass to get it to work, frankly. And that may be because of the way I was outputting the video. I don't know. It should work though. Talk about other games. Tunic I played earlier, ran great. I'm assuming this is a Windows game that's running under emulation. Ran exactly how I expected to run. I'd previously played this on a Windows desktop, and it ran fine on the deck. It's, you know, fun to play with the gamepad. Works well with the gamepad. Worked well on the deck. Tetris worked well on the deck. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2. I think that ran great. I haven't tried Shredder's Revenge or Neon White on the deck. Those are both excellent games, though. Anyway, you should play them. Shatter here. Shatter I tried. Shatter did not work great. This is a game that has a native Linux version, I believe. And then, so if we get properties here, yeah, I'm running it with a compatibility layer. This, again, had no sound. I don't know if this is using Fmod, an old 32-bit version of Fmod, like Full Throttle and Day of the Tentacle, or what's going on. Sound just doesn't work. It's a fantastic game. Sound is key to the experience. Valve does not advertise any compatibility for this. We're still learning about this title. I'm sure there's a new version of this game coming out later this year, but I'm sure it's going to be an additional purchase or whatever. And yeah, you have to force the use of a specific Steam Play compatibility tool to get this game to work. This is a shame because it's a great game. Anywho, yeah. Talked about a few games here. What else is installed? I tried Apex Legends. It ran great, despite being an EA game that runs in Windows compatibility layer. Has like the anti-cheat stuff. Rogue Legacy ran great. But this is kind of like the gamut of what I've been messing around with on here. I also know Mrs. NuclearMonster is playing Apico. I think that ran pretty well. Tried also Core Keeper, which I think she had trouble with multiplayer. I don't know all the details. I can't speak to her experience with those exactly. which game are you talking about, Cheese? Shatter? Probably Shatter, right? I know we both like Shatter, so it's probably that. Said Cheese said in the chat, yeah, I tried reaching out to the devs about whether they had a Linux version planned, but I didn't get a response. Yeah, about Shatter for the new version. You know, I think in a lot of ways, like playing games on the deck is really great when they work. Like this is a great. I'm a kind of person who will play like 1 or 2 games at a time on the computer, on my big desktop computer, and then the Steam Deck for me is a great way to go back to some games I haven't finished otherwise, or I want to revisit, like Rogue Legacy. I never finished, but I like playing it. It runs great on the deck. Tunic, I hadn't finished, and this is a more recent game. I went back to playing it on the deck. Great to play it there, and not, you know, it. I'm a busy person, and sometimes, and the Steam Deck really lets me find the time to play some games when I couldn't otherwise do so. Because it doesn't involve like going going and sitting in front of a full size computer and stuff. You know, it can like go to sleep. It can do all kinds of things and do that well, and do all kinds of things a real big computer can't. But this can also, you know, plug into a USB-C hub and become a kind of desktop computer. And speaking of which, I do want to talk about, even before we go desktop mode, I want to talk about this keyboard. Let's go to search for games profiles here. I'm going to go to, actually, let me switch to, I want to search for that. I want to search my library. So this is the Steam Deck software keyboard. This is a touchscreen device. It's also got, you know, a pretty traditional gamepad, modern gamepad layout, in addition to a bunch of non-traditional things like 2 touchpads that are moving the cursors you see on the screen right now. This software keyboard, like, put in the word fighters here. Like my experience though from using this handheld has been that the software keyboard has been not good. I think the software keyboard looks great. This is like one of the custom themes I got with my version of the deck. I think, you know, the theming of the keyboard, not an issue. It looks fantastic. But I think the functionality is pretty limited. And, you know, this is the first version of the Steam Deck. Valve's continuing to update it. I'm sure it'll get better over time. Here we go, keyboard. Select a theme. There's a bunch of themes that came with. Some of these you get on any version. Some of these you only get with the 512 version of the deck that I have. There's a bunch of different ones. Let's go look at a couple different ones here. Yep. I think someone at Valve really likes mechanical keyboards just like I do, or maybe multiple people. It's a kind of popular thing now. But I had a lot of problems with the software keyboard, mainly when I was trying to go into desktop mode and like enter a password or something. It was a nightmare to enter a password if the login form for the whatever I was trying to look at. Okay, so here you're not seeing the full screen of the deck. It's gonna let me move the mouse cursor. I can touch. This is interesting. Okay, now it's letting me move the mouse cursor. Yeah, here's the Firefox web browser on the deck. This is a weird situation where you can see the full resolution of the screen. This is not what this looks like normally. I don't know, this is like some weird zoom level. Actually, it's a default zoom level. I don't know why it's so unreadable. This is a 1440 display, and then I'm not sure what we're capturing at right now. But you can change a lot of settings in the deck, desktop mode. But the default controls. This is an article I was looking at about how to install games from GOG onto the deck, and like the default controls for using the the this how do I explain this? The default controls for using the Steam Deck on the desktop mode are not great. Like here I'm grabbing this tiny scroll bar on the right side of the screen, and doing that with a touchpad is not good. It in fact I would say it's really bad. And I can't just hit the Steam button here to bring up the control configurator. I have to go back to full screen mode, I think, to edit that, which is not fantastic. Yeah, this experience just isn't great in terms of what a user's going to see. It is really neat that you can, as far as I can tell, like you've got basically a whole desktop computer set up here. If you really want it, you can plug in a mouse and keyboard. You can use Bluetooth devices. You can do all kinds of stuff. I'm not super familiar with Arch Linux that they're using, the distribution that Valve is using now. But you can do a lot of stuff with it. But the default experience isn't great. Fortunately, you can definitely reconfigure the desktop controls, and people have different suggestions out there for what controls you should use. I just think it's not fantastic. I also yeah, I mean, Valve just kind of dumps you into this and the desktop mode, and you know whose responsibility is it to educate users about how to use it, but doesn't really tell you anything about it. Fortunately, there's a big button to immediately tap to return to gaming mode, which is nice because you're probably going to want to do that. Find the mouse cursor here. Boop. Yeah, I mean, there's a Discover store here where you can find a bunch of software to install, like emulators and things like that. Windows Central. Yeah, that is really funny that I'm using Windows Central to get instructions for messing around with my Linux-based Steam Deck. But you know, there a lot of people are publishing information about this these days, and I'm not surprised. It's a popular-ish device, and yeah, I mean, it's a thing. Totally reasonable. Just ironic in some ways. I wish linuxgames.com was still around so I could write about this there, but I'm going to write about this on nuclearmonster.com instead. But yeah, this experience, the software keyboard in particular, like here's an example where you want to use it. You can still hit Steam and X, the Steam key and the X key to bring up the software keyboard and start trying to type. So what something I should type? Well, let's type emulator. Might be something a user would do. Actually, I'm searching the system updates. That's the best part. This thing is not built for this at all. And I apologize. You're seeing this really tiny. That's not what it looks like on my screen. Or that is what it looks like, but not the typical experience of desktop mode. You can actually go in here. Like, I mean, you've got settings to change the resolution of the screen. See if I can find the settings here. Let me bring the settings box over to the screen where we're having the problem. Here's the settings box. It's very hard to see right now on there, but my Steam Deck itself is acting like a second monitor, which is not what I want. Let's go into display and monitor settings. Yeah, you can kind of see the issue here. I do not want to run at this enormous resolution. Apply. It's going to come back. There it goes. Keep. Okay. 24 hertz. No, that is not a acceptable resolution to run at. I like all these orientations too for the monitor. Like you could turn your monitor upside down. Okay. Anyway, let's go hit replica of laptop screen. The Linux thinks that this is a laptop. That's fine. This is okay. This is it's kind of what you see. This whole thing, like this experience. If I minimize this, I want to see what I see on the Steam Deck exactly. So I don't think this is. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's like it's displaying. I've chosen replica of laptop screen. Oh, now I've lost that configuration. Display configuration reverted. Okay, that's not what I want. How can I get it back? I mean, a lot of these things are Linux issues, not issues with the. Oh man, I almost don't want to change anything because I'm worried something's gonna break. A lot of these are Linux issues, not necessarily issues with a Steam Deck. But I mean, this is the user experience if you plug it into a modder. I want to reset my settings here. I just changed something. Let's go reset. Okay. Let's go to select the external screen. And I'm going to change this to, what did it say the internal resolution is? So the internal resolution is 800 by 1280, which is a cattywampus weird resolution, but that's what the deck is, and it's fine. It's a absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfectly fine display to look at. But I'm just trying to mirror the displays. Okay, apply. Is it going to work this time? We can keep the settings. This must have what happened. I didn't see that dialog, so I couldn't keep the settings. Oh, but it's still not, still not actually mirrored. Replica of laptop screen. None. Replica of laptop screen. Apply. Oh my gosh, Linux. Well, this gives you an idea of issues with Linux, but that's not necessarily Valve's fault. Something though they can certainly work towards helping get fixed. But yeah, hopefully I can still minimize this. You can see the area of the or you could for a second see the area. Now you can again area of the Steam Deck screen. That's that area that shows up as that area as the quarter of the cutout here on the deck that showed up and now is gone for some reason. Oh, now I don't have any of any task manager bar or anything like that at all. Great. So I'm gonna just hit return to gaming mode. This is pretty much a disaster going to right now, but you can totally go in here, set up emulators and stuff. Not something I necessarily recommend based on my experiences, but I've seen people reporting better experiences. Maybe they're more familiar with Arch Linux and its peculiarities and quirks. I don't know. Returning to gaming mode. Returning to some kind of sanity. Getting no signal from my Steam Deck right now. Oh boy. Not sure if Steam Deck. Oh, there it is. It's coming back now. I have a new inventory item. Fantastic. Yeah, I had a lot of. I just wanted to talk about what I originally was trying to do was just to talk about my experiences with inputting passwords using the software keyboard. It's a nightmare. If you have any kind of complicated passwords at all, trying to get those into like a website or whatever using the on-screen keyboard, this keyboard is not good on the deck itself. I'm sure if like I said, you can plug in a physical keyboard. You can probably use a Bluetooth keyboard. I haven't tried that, but I'm sure it works. And it would be much better than using that software keyboard because it routinely would give me like haptic feedback that something was working when in fact nothing was or nothing, no letters were being input into the dialog box for the password. It was a terrible experience. I tried to enter in my passwords for I was using the Heroic Game Launcher, I think it's called, to enter in passwords for GOG in Epic Games Store or whatever they're called, and it was a nightmare. I must have sat there for like 20 or 30 minutes to input both passwords. And they're decently long passwords. I don't think there's any native, whatever is Flatpak or whatever people are using these days for releasing software. I don't think there was a native Linux version of 1Password, my password manager for Linux in Flatpak format. I think they're working on it. That's not Valve's responsibility, but the Steam software keyboard is, and it's disturbing how bad that was. Like I'm comparing it to stuff like an iPhone, which is at this point like a 15-year plus software platform, so it's had plenty of time to mature. But as a touchscreen device, it works great. The Steam Deck has touchscreen and physical controls, so I think there's potential for it to get better. I know it will. It just wasn't great right now. So what else do I want to talk about here? There's this kind of hope I have that the positive side of everything I was talking about earlier with regard to Windows API compatibility layers is that hopefully at some point there will be people like who get this thing and uh, this is their first or only native Linux computer, and they might decide to make a native Linux version of their game. From everything I can tell, I think Valve is pointing developers towards not making native Linux versions, and I think they maybe changed a little bit of that in the past year or so as the Steam Deck was getting ready to launch, and then as it launched earlier this year. But I don't think it's a great situation with with Proton as a Windows compatibility layer, which is a fork of wine. I just, I think it's kind of not great. I just think it's not a great situation. Um, yeah, I'm trying to see what else I really want to talk about here. The Steam Deck. I think overall the hardware feels good. Its performance is fast enough in terms of just like playing a game. When a game's working, it's definitely fast enough for most of the games I've played, especially at the low resolution of the screen, the 1280 by 800. Totally fine for most of the games I try to play. I know there's some games that it won't be possible to play via the in-game settings to get something low enough to run on here. That's okay. It plays so many games well, and I'm sure Valve will continue to iterate on the hardware and make new versions. All right, I hope that they do. I think it's been a pretty successful device so far, so maybe a future version will be able to play like Forza Horizon 5 or whatever. I'll talk about headphones briefly. I think if you're someone who has mostly switched to Bluetooth or other wireless headphones, you're going to be a little bit surprised going back to this because, yeah, you can use Bluetooth, but it's going to have lag. It's one of the worst parts of like mobile gaming. This also has, of course, a physical, I say of course, but like Apple devices don't anymore, or many Apple devices don't. My laptop does, but my phone doesn't have a headphone jack. This does. That's great. Um, it you can plug in headphones and that experience works fine, but it's not like kind of what people are used to, I think, these days from a perspective of someone coming from an iPhone or an Android device or something. But other devices like a Nintendo Switch, or I don't know if you're familiar with like a PlayStation Vita or whatever, your only option in many cases is to use a wired headphone with those. So I think if you're coming from a console experience, you're going to be totally fine using that, unless you're used to like a wireless setup with a PlayStation 5 or like Xbox Series X or whatever up to now. Um, yeah, I just the experience of plugging in portable headphones, this isn't great. Um, but it's kind of what you got to put up with these days. I hope at some point we can get like low latency wireless stuff. That's not something that's Valve responsibility necessarily to fix. Let's see. I'll talk a little bit about the ordering process for the Steam Deck. You put in like $5 into a reservation queue. People still don't understand that. You'll see people posting in various forms for the Steam Deck. They're like, okay, they're thinking about buying one, and they haven't reserved anything. They don't understand that they're in a months long wait. That sucks. That's not necessarily something Valve is in control of. I don't. I'm sure like you could be a conspiracy theorist and be like, oh, they like the queue because it keeps people into FOMO or whatever. I think that would be nonsense. Valve is in the business of selling these things as fast as they can and updating the software as fast as they can. I don't think that, I think that actually the queue system is kind of the best compromise. It's not great, but I waited almost a year to get this thing. Got a couple or earlier this month, right, the start of the month or end of last, and it's way better than like the process of like trying to get a video card or something. Those recently became available again, but you know, it's it's not a great process of ordering this, but it definitely is functional, and the best that they can probably do. I've definitely seen a lot of stories about people having Steam Decks stolen in transit. Um, there's lots to talk about when we talk about things like theft and criminality. Let me grab some water real quick. Hold on. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of reports of people having their Steam Deck stolen in transit. The outside the box that's shipped in has I think a picture of a companion cube from Portal. People can tell what the Steam Deck is while it's in transit. It sucks, you know. Don't steal things from people. Walmart, whatever. I don't give a fuck about, but this is a thing that's going to a person. The nice thing about it from the user's perspective is every single person I've seen who's reported their Steam Deck being stolen in transit, Valve has replaced. It doesn't look like it was a hassle to get them to do it. They just believe you, which is what they should do, and replace it, which is great. Um, I hope they're not blacklisting the stolen Steam Decks because, you know, whomever ends up with it, like the stolen one, is going to have a bad time if it gets blacklisted. If Valve has the capability to do that, I don't know. And the user could always just use a flash drive or whatever, I guess, and install Windows or whatever. So it doesn't seem like there's any kind of firmware lockouts or anything that they're capable of doing. But yeah, I don't think I don't think the theft is really a failure of Valve's, but I think that the packaging design kind of could be maybe better designed so that it doesn't get stolen. But they're doing the best they can by their users when it does. I've just seen a ton of reports of that, and that'll get better as the situation with the production gets alleviated, where they can get more out, and then maybe people are less desperate to get them, and they're worth less on the secondary market. Like I think right now, you can get one of these things and then resell it for like twice or more what you paid for it. I would not do that. That's really gross, but do what you have to do if you need the money. Yeah, it's just that's just the way it is right now. Some computer stuff is really hard to get. It's really long on back order. I think Valve's kind of doing the best they can there. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to talk about with the Steam Deck. I think, I'm kind of pretty negative on a lot of this stuff going on with it. I think, like, I'm kind of lucky from my perspective. I understand a lot of what's going on here. I don't understand everything about it. Like, I'm not at Valve. I don't know what they're thinking. The few people I kind of know at Valve, like, I don't think they even work on the Steam Deck. Yeah, and there's good things, there's bad things about it. I think overall, I think it's I'm deeply concerned that it's not great for Linux as a platform. Um, from what I've seen from Valve's discussions from what I've seen from Valve, like saying like you don't have to port your game. I've written articles about this in the past. Um, yeah, it's not great in that perspective. I think from a user's perspective, like, people are going to be happy as long as your games work. But big games like Elden Ring, this does not have a native Linux support. You just saw me try to run it. I got a black screen. It's not good. I don't know if it's because I'm hooked up to a monitor. I don't know if it's because the Steam Cloud is syncing my settings from Windows. Don't know why. It's kind of just an opaque process unless you're willing to go in, and I'm sure people are going to be willing to go in, especially if you spent 142 hours playing this game. Yeah. It does a lot of stuff. It does a lot of stuff right. But that stuff about what they do to like native Linux ports, like there's some deep irony in them having a 32-bit compatibility issue when they've raked Apple rightly. Like they should have done this. They should have raked Apple if it coals rightly, and they did, for like dropping 32-bit compatibility and doing all their stuff Apple's done. That's kind of hurt game developers and game compatibility, but software compatibility. But Like there's some kind of irony here in like games like Full Throttle that have a native Linux port, and as far as I can tell, the you know, I'm not speaking for any of the developers who worked on this. As far as I can tell, like that was the other issue. They're trying to fix it, but my guess is, and I don't know anyone at Valve who's working on this. My guess is that like kind of their focus is going to be on non-native ports, because the more time and energy they pour into Proton, their Windows compatibility layer, the better, because like more games will theoretically work. Like Elden Ring might work more consistently. But yeah, it's a real mixed bag is a favorite phrase of people who are talking about games. I can't wait to try like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. I've heard those work great. I don't know. I haven't downloaded them yet. I downloaded Death Stranding. Let's fire up Death Stranding. How about that? I haven't tried this yet. This is the director's cut. I have the older version, which I put some time into on, I think, the PlayStation 4. Let's see how it runs on the deck. Just have something to do while we're kind of chit-chatting about it. But I'm almost done with like kind of what I want to say about, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's cool to have a handheld Linux, like a handheld computer. It's cooler that I know that this is like the first like Linux computer I've had in years that's explicitly for running games. This defaults to cancel, which is interesting. Also, I think the screen is, I don't know if it's this UI is flickering or what. I can't tell if that's coming through on the stream or not. Cancel. Okay. Options here. I'm curious what it'll say the resolution is. Full screen. Display 1. Oh, you can choose your display monitor. Oh. 1280 by 720. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave this as default, and hopefully I'll continue to work on the Steam Deck without it being plugged into a monitor. I hit new game here. Well, actually, this game is probably loaded up with third-party music. Well, that's all right. If I get muted, I get muted. Is it normal here? What, large text? My eyes aren't fantastic. New additional content found. Power gloves. All right. Like this is actually a good example of a game that all right, hold on a second. Let me I'm sure the internet knows when my birthday is, but I'm just gonna switch off the screen for a second. No reason to dox myself any more than I already have. Okay. Higher levels of Doom's abilities have been observed in those born under constellations such as Cancer, Pisces, Satis, whatever that is, Delphinus, and Gigas. What? I don't know what any of those are. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's such a weird time to be in. Like this is the first version of the Steam Deck. I think, like I said, I think the hardware is pretty great. I haven't tried the other versions of the deck. I know they have a worse screen, but you can also wear that screen directly from iFixit. It's wild. This thing uses like normal screws, no weird Torx screws that lock you out of it. No bootloader that, as far as I know, that would lock you out of it if you make some kind of modification to it. Yeah, it's wild that this is in my hands and works as well as it does. You can, like I said, you can install Windows on it if you really want to. I'm not going to do that.
Bang which gave birth to time and
I'm happy there's a lot of other people trying out Links,
once there was
even if they don't really know about what that is.
A bang which set a planet spinning in that space.
I think there's a long way to go on user education about that stuff.
A bang which gave rise to life as we know it.
There's Norman Reedus talking.
And then came the next explosion.
There's some pictures from like Iceland and other places, and then they've been edited. This is a walking game. Yeah. I just wanted to give like my impressions of this. This isn't like a full review. I don't even know what that would even mean for this, because the Steam Deck just, you know, it's going to continue to be updated in software to be different. But I think like these are my impressions of kind of like just what I've seen from Valve and what the device is, my experience. And you know, it's wild that you can have this. Oh, just pause the game somehow by tapping the touchscreen accidentally. It's wild to have this portable computer in my hands that runs Linux. I hope it gets better. I hope the software keyboard in particular gets better. I hope Valve starts pushing developers towards native ports, and maybe make it explicit to users if they're using one or not, if they're using Steam Play compatibility layers or whatever they want to call it. Like, I've got so many handheld gaming devices. Like, I've got like 2 or 3 different PlayStation portables, PSPs. I've got a Vita. Like, I've got, you know, a bunch of Nintendo handhelds. It's definitely the most powerful handheld thing I've ever had. It's a little large. It'd be nice if like there was a way. I mean, it's nice that it comes with a nice case to protect it. This dude just got his hair sprayed because I think in this game rain ages you. Wild game. This is an example of a game that I'm looking forward to going back to, and which is a weird thing to say, looking forward and going back, but yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to this game, spending some more time with it, which will be easier to do in handheld mode. I've got, you know, last time I played this game was on a living room TV, and it was hard for me to find the time to play this game without my son possibly seeing it, because I didn't want him to see it since it's not appropriate for him to see. With this handheld device, I can kind of just sit down and, you know, put one headphone in my ear or something and grab a couple minutes with the game. And it's perfect for something from Spelunky to maybe Death Stranding here. We'll see once I get into gameplay what that means. Bird just got aged. I'm curious what anyone has to say about this who's not talked with. I've talked with a few other developers about this too, who port games to Linux, and they had opinions about it. There's kind of the optimistic opinion that hopefully hopefully Valve, you know, hopefully this causes more developers to port. I think he stopped and didn't run over the lady. I'm actually not in control of this at all. I'm still cutscene. As Kojima's games are famous for having long cutscenes, even though lots of other people work in the games. Yeah, he just had a bad motorcycle accident. We're gonna run to that lady in a minute. I remember that part of the game. I can grab with my left hand. I can grab with my right hand. I can transfer the cargo to my back. I don't know if she was really there or not. Cargo for the smart drug delivery order acquired. Like, I've seen this console, this Steam Deck compared to like a portable PlayStation 4. That's wild to have that much power in your hands. On an openish platform. It's not ish. It is open. Like, you can install whatever you want on here. But I'm curious what the frame rate is we're getting here. I want to see the overlay. Especially as I only have 64% left. I'm not controlling anything. I'm not controlling the game. I'm not controlling the overlay. I need to use the track. Nope, trackpad's not. Oh, there we go. Other trackpad did it. Sometimes I expect when these overlays come up, I expect to use one trackpad, but like I press the dot 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 button is on the right side of the Steam Deck, but the trackpad to use to control this menu is on the left side. I don't know why. Anywho, let's go in here. I want to change. Yeah, I thought I tried the stick before and it didn't work. Let me see the overlay. Oh yes, I'm getting like 30 frames per second. Got the overlay up. It's hard to see because it's real small, but I can kind of see well enough to see what kind of frame rate I'm getting. Let's limit the frame rate to 30. Refresh rate. Limit the refresh rate to 40. Okay, the frame rate limit is now to 20. I want 20. 20 is bad.
Let's just sit here for a second.
Just sit here for a second. Rain is degrading my stuff though. My character's in-game stuff. Norman Reedus' stuff. Change a bunch of options here about how this all works. Alright, let's go back to the game. Let's massage shoulders. Alright, Norman, maybe I'll complain less. Now that your shoulders are massaged, you had a little rest. We're in a motorcycle accident. Total rest, 32 seconds. There's a thumbs up here for some reason, I don't know why. Stuff is scattered all over this hillside. There's my last cargo over there. Tap the scan. Tap the right bumper to scan.
Give me a break.
Cheese in the chat says the only thing I know about this game is that it's very urine focused. You've got a Wii mechanic carrying around a baby in a jar of Wii. It's raining time Wii. It's Wii all the way down. Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. This game's real weird. Going over towards this marker. Where's the cargo? Oh, this thing's still charging or something? Scanning? I think the bike is lost. I don't think I'm getting the bike back. I need to go over to the cargo that I dropped though. Oh, here's some cargo. Definitely it looks not great for some reason right now. I don't really know why. I almost wonder if it's being scaled weird. Where's the graphics settings? And 1280 by 720. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this might not look great. It's a real weird game. I can the trigger buttons here cause Norman Reedus' in-game character to hold on to the straps of the backpack, so he remains more stable. There we drove around. Actually might want to just put this on a lower difficulty level, but I've heard this game has its moments, and I enjoy wandering around in it. I think I might enjoy this more on the deck itself. Here's a cave where I might be able to wait out the rain. And a cutscene. It's Sam. That's the character's name, played by Norman Reedus. One sec. All right. Yeah, Norman's outfit was protecting him from the time-damaging rain. You can see where the rain hits him, and they're going to explain some of this. Really irrelevant to the Steam Deck for the most part, besides the fact that the game works or doesn't. And you'd expect future versions of the Steam Deck to run these games better. He doesn't have the baby that's in whatever fluid it's in yet in the game. This is one of the creepy monsters from the game. They're invisible. Probably going to save and quit out of this as soon as possible, but I guess I kind of finished what I want to talk about. Yeah, I don't think it's in piss, but I mean, presumably, you know, the child. Well, I don't know how that works. I think it's got like a fake umbilical cord. Everything else is. This game is strange. I'm glad strange games can exist. So they're obviously trying to avoid being murdered by this machine. Or this monster. I apologize for spoiling this several-year-old game now to anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to play it. And obviously that includes me after a certain point. I haven't played very far in it. Just a few hours on the PlayStation 4 or whatever. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, feel free to leave some comments below and let me know what you think of the Steam Deck. Especially if you're someone who, I really want to hear from other people who are Linux users outside of the Steam Deck, or if you're someone who's using Linux for the first time with the Steam Deck and you're going to the desktop mode and what your experiences are. I'm real curious to hear. Maybe you're having a better experience than I did earlier in the stream. Yeah. Just curious to hear more experiences from people and what they think. If they understand like what's going on with native games and you know, if you understand that, or if you don't, if you're just playing games on here and having the experiences you have, curious to hear what those are. I think this looks a little bit extra blurry because it's running at that 1280 by 720, and then the Steam Deck is not like the most powerful gaming machine. The rain has stopped. Sam can now talk with this character.
I think they're gone. What the hell? Didn't mean to grab you so hard.
Oh, Fragile,
Tears.
that's her name.
A chiral allergy.
So he's about to like eat a bug or something.
You have dooms, like me.
I've got the extinction factor, but I think you got me beat.
What's your level? You can see them, right?
No.
What's
but I
your
can
level?
sense 'em.
Level 2, then.
What are you doing here?
Trying to stay dry. Same as you. Time falls let up.
It's not rainfall, it's timefall.
My name is Fragile.
Yeah, I've heard of you.
That right?
Yeah,
Sam Porter Bridges.
yeah, you deliver packages in this game. It's an interesting game.
The man who delivers.
His name is Porter, Sam Porter Bridges. You can also build bridges. Very subtle. Oh yeah, here's the little bugs this lady's gonna eat. Gross. So gross. Real V
You want it?
vibes.
A crypto bite a day keeps the time fall away. Wanna come work for me? Must be tough out here on your own.
Yeah, I thought Fragile Express had plenty of people.
Plenty of traitors. Not much left of us now, save for a few honest folks.
I mean, he was
On
grunting a
top of
lot
that-
after he got the bike, but I don't know.
Not much left of me either. Got soaked from neck to toe.
I can't help you with that. I make deliveries, that's all.
This is Bridges Central Dispatch. Freelance contractor Sam Porter Bridges. Receiver is standing by for drop.
As soon as the game comes back, I'm gonna save and quit.
Headed into town.
It's her cool umbrella.
Watch yourself. Those things never stay gone for long.
Yeah, someday I'll be able to control it. She got the umbrella out, now she's putting it back. Who knows why? Yeah, she got it out so the player
The
could see.
time
That's
fall
right.
fast forwards whatever it touches. But it can't wash
So
everything
why is she
away.
explaining this to Sam?
The
Sam
past
knows
just
this
won't
stuff.
let go. I'll see you around. Sam Porter Bridges.
Right, she's explaining it so the player can know it. Maybe they should give him amnesia or something so he had a good excuse for learning. It's wild going from that cutscene to the in-game. Like, it's pretty smooth. Like, I know this looks a little blurry to me on my screen. It's not the native resolution of the screen, but you know, it's fine. Red bar is the blood gauge. When it reaches 0, Sam will die. The blue bar is the stamina gauge. As this gauge depletes, Sam will move more slowly and maintain his balance. So, I got to complete some deliveries. If I pick up some more stuff I dropped, if I can find it. Some of those bugs over there I can eat. I dive on my blood gauge here as well. Is there a flashlight somewhere? I guess maybe just use the scanner. How far into this cave can I go? Don't see anything else in here yet. Alright, well, I'm going to save and quit to this game. Thank you for tuning in. I guess I'll leave this running as I go out. This is this is not Dead Rise. This what is the name of this game? Death Stranding. Thank you. Thank you, Steam Overlay. This is the Steam Deck. It's a Steam Deck. I haven't tried the SD card at all yet. There's some other stuff I haven't tried on here at all yet. I haven't spent enough time in the desktop mode. But yeah. Death Stranding Director's Cut. I'm sure there's more settings I could change to alter my performance in the game. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good one. I'll be back tomorrow night for more learning German. They made me more Elden Ring. I know I said I'd do some Elden Ring on the title card here earlier, but I didn't get around to it. I ended up talking about the Steam Deck for much longer than I expected. So thanks for tuning in. Bye.